Okay, so uh, TurboTax. I remember TurboTax. So this morning I wanted to talk tax strategy, not because I'm a tax strategist, but because I've had some unique experiences as a customer on the other side of it. So as an actor, you don't know, like most actors know nothing about money in terms of money management. That's why you'll see a lot of actors, like people are like, well, how can Nicolas Cage go broke? How can Johnny Depp be having to file bankruptcy if he's earned over $350 million? Like people don't understand what happens, how your mind works. So I had an accountant that did my tax prep as an actor, and he was really, really good, very eccentric, but he always got me very good results. And I can remember, getting $10,000 back. And when I was an actor at that time, that was like, unheard. It was crazy. But when I transitioned into doing work as a independent contractor, as a speaker, he didn't have the experience that I needed, but he still was able to kind of finagle and figure some stuff out. When I got involved in network marketing, it was a totally different ball game because he didn't know anything about the profession. So he was, still trying to do stuff, but he just wasn't. He wasn't. He was too conservative and too limited in his knowledge. And by that time, I was making too much income for him to be that ignorant about what we were doing. So uh, I made some calls and I talked to some other top income earners, and they gave me some referrals. Well, network marketers don't know anything about taxes either. We think because we make a lot of money that if we pay somebody a lot of money, that means they know what they're doing. And that was it was a mistake. So I ended up hiring this firm. It cost me, I think it was $8,000 up front. And then they were charging me, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 a month, depending upon the month. And they completely just fucked up they fucked everything up. And I don't, and I'm not, I'm very, I get uncomfortable when I have to look at a form. I don't know how you all are around that kind of stuff. My brain doesn't respond well to it. And people that have knowledge, they and are experts, some of those people are predators. They will prey upon people like me and other people who just, no, can you handle that? Like, I'm going to trust you to handle it. And that's why there's so much of a hot mess when people do try to do the tax prep. Now, some of you, you're doing your
phone and reached out to when I decided to have this idea of talking to people, coaches, trainers, network marketers about what they could do to free up money. Go
There
ahead.
you go.
I'm just taking over while you're gone.
I appreciate that. So some of you, you're doing your own tax prep, and you want to start building a relationship and start learning and having conversation with tax strategists and experts. Don't wait until you're making a lot of money to try to find somebody, because then you're gonna make mistakes that can be very costly. So it's better to have this dynamic now. I didn't have anyone that came into my space and said, let's talk about your tax strategy. I just took out 25%, whatever I made, and set it aside for the IRS. But I didn't really know that much. And the only thing I can say that I do is I'm organized with kind of tracking stuff. So a good friend of mine and I had a conversation, and then this was probably almost 2 years ago. Okay, a little over a year and a half ago.
Yes.
And we were talking about just where we were at, and we both were in a business together, and we were just kind of in this transitional phase in our life, and wanting to do some things differently. And she was sharing with me her experience and background, which I had no idea of. I didn't know that she had been in the tax realm for so many years, working with CEOs and companies, but she also had a unique lane in the network marketing space because she was a top producer as a network marketer, but she also understood the tax law and tax side of it. And that combination, the only person that I knew of, maybe you all have heard of this book by Sandy Botkin, You'd Be Brain Dead Not to Have a Home-Based Business. You ever heard of that book, Sandy Botkin? Okay. See, this is my thing. Like I made sure everybody in my team knew that book, knew that as a resource. So she was sharing with me what she was about to do, and I got really excited about it. We ended up working together, and she is the only person that handles my tax dynamic, she and her team. And there's a lot of trust that you have to have in that because it's money. And see, money is an emotional thing. And because money is emotional, we make decisions that are not great always around money. That's why weddings and funerals make so much damn money because people ain't thinking straight, right? Taxes do the same thing. And this is why people find themselves at the losing end more often than not. So since that conversation, ladies and gentlemen, she literally has absolutely catapulted into the consciousness of entrepreneurs and business owners around the world. She has been on multiple stages with Eric Worre. She and Eric Worre, who is he's the author of GoPro. He's founded the GoPro movement. He's considered one of the top trainers in the world for network marketers. It's all he does is focus on home-based business owners and entrepreneurs. She is his go-to for tax strategy. He is introducing her to people around the world and business owners around the world. She's also doing work with Tony Robbins. She's a member of his Platinum Partners. And she has poured into a lot of the top tier business owners and Platinum Partners, if you all don't know, these are people that are spending six figures to be a part of this unique group of business owners and entrepreneurs, and they get together and they mastermind. Well, she is that leading voice when it comes to tax strategy. So she agreed to come on here for a few minutes because, as you all can imagine, she's completely swamped with clients and all of that. But she loves pouring out. She's got incredible resources, which she'll share with you online. But I've never met someone in this space that is so passionate about informing people, giving them the right information. And I can tell you from my own firsthand experience, she has completely transformed my situation, turned that ridiculous hot mess and all that money that I threw away. She's completely cleaned it up. It was a hot mess. Talking about she had to go back years and fix stuff, and she did all of that. So I am biased. I'll let you all know that. You know, I'm biased towards Courtney, but not just because she's a good friend, but because she's really, really good at what she does. So without further ado, Lady Courtney Epps.
Hey guys, I hope that y'all are having an amazing time and staying safe in this crazy world that we're living in right now. And you know, I love to tell people that I am a motivational tax strategist. So I love to give hope. And then also on top of that, just to share with you some things that I just learned along the way over the last 19 years. So I am so grateful. Ed's friendship is probably one of the most amazing friendships. I cherish that so much. You know, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. Because there's people that you just know that you need to be around. And he was one of those people for me. And I reached out to him first because I was scared to death to decide that I wanted to start creating all this content. And I said, you know what? If he says it's a good idea, then I'm going to go with it. And that conversation took me from about $7,500 a month to over $270,000 a month now. And it's crazy. So sometimes things have scaled so fast with us. It's super, it's exciting. It's scary, but it's also very humbling that you can put the right people in your life and get some advice that, you know, was worth millions and millions of dollars, and it was free advice that he gave me, and we worked together. And so I will always be grateful to Ed for what he's done for me. So if you guys are friends with Ed, I am friends with you. So just love him so much. So the kind of what I want to share with you today is just one, to give you hope that this is the time. So I'm not sure of my audience, Ed. I don't know what you
They're
guys.
all home-based business owners.
Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. So this is your time, and I'm super excited for what's happening. And what I'm trying to do is spread the message that people would literally be brain dead not to own a business. And that's the subtitle of my book. And so why a home-based business is because if you don't have a home-based business, then you don't get access to the tax deductions that that home-based business owners get. So kind of give you, for instance, and this is my book, so this is just to share with you why you'd be brain dead not on the business. But you know, I'm sorry, it's more relaxing, less taxing. Why you'd be brain dead not on a business is the name of it. So, but what I want to share with you is that I figured out a way that I could take someone, free up money for them, help them get involved in a business. Home-based business is what I typically want them to be involved in. And then take them, keep them in that business long enough to win. And then once they actually started winning, I could help them keep more of their hard-earned money. And so some statistics that hit me really hard, which is why I reached out to Ed. And I don't know why I reached out to Ed. I had only met Ed one time, but he made me feel so confident. He actually, I mean, he was big time. He was big time, and I was small. I was small fries, and he was biggie fries. And I reached out, and he interviewed me, and it made me feel so good. And I was like, gosh, I just love to be around him more. So anyway, when I reached out to him, it was because of these statistics by Grant Cardone. And Grant said the average household income is $60,000 a year in America. So the average household in America is going to make $60,000 this year before the pandemic. They're going to pay $14,000 in taxes. Their take home is $46,000. And the cost of living in America on average is $53,000 a year. And that hit me.
Sarah.
Do what? You need me? Oh, somebody's on mute, not on mute. So that hit me like a ton of bricks. That the average household was going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to go on 2 weeks paid vacation. And I realized that I was the only accountant that had been in network marketing, that owned a home-based business, that understood that you could save between $4,000 and $8,000 a year just by having a home-based business and attempting to earn an income. So I just knew then and there that was my destiny. Like that was what I was supposed to be sharing with the world. And I stopped what I was doing. I was a fractional CFO for 12 different companies at the time. You know, they were paying me between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. Some of them had, that was my whole path was I just wanted like 12 of those, right? I wanted 12 of those people paying me a ton of money every month, and I only had to deal with 12. And then from there, I could just, you know, it would be a breeze. And this came on me, and I had to start sharing that. So that's kind of my story and how I got started. But I want you to understand that there's never been a better time right now, because 46% of Americans before the pandemic did not have an extra $400 to their name. And 69% of Americans didn't have an extra $1,000 to their name before this all happened. So it's your job as home-based business owners to just share the information that could truly change someone's life. See, what I know is that in 2008 and 2009, if households had an extra $300 a month, that 75% of them would not have lost their homes. So there's never been a better time to share this, and your family and friends need it because half of them don't have enough money to pay their bills. So that's my soapbox. That's how I got started. I've been an accountant for the last 19 years. It has, you know, for a long time, I hated it. But when I realized that I had a superpower of freeing up money for people, that's when everything changed for me. So we're currently freeing up about $250,000 a week for people that are overpaying in taxes and they didn't even know it. And so I'll tell you a couple things. One is what we look at. So we're literally looking at the back end. Like, did you take the expenses that you're entitled to take? And things like meals, mileage, cell phone, internet, business use of your home. All of these things become tax deductible when you have a home-based business. Your auto expenses, and there's some really key things about auto expenses. You can either take mileage or you can take actual expenses. You can actually depreciate your car. So that tends to be a better way to go if you bought a vehicle after January 1st, 2018. But so all of these things, and we go back and we look and we see, okay, did your last accountant or did you take advantage of the tax deductions that you're entitled to? And if you didn't, then you could go backwards and amend those. I don't know if you guys know that. You can go backwards 3 years and amend your taxes. 3 years actually from the date of filing, or 2 years from the date of paying. So if you owe money, you can go backwards and amend that. One of the key things that I tell people all the time is that I've heard it time and time again, is the 3 out of 5 year rule. And so that means that if I have losses more than 3 out of 5 years, everybody thinks that law says that you can't claim your losses. That's not true. Most businesses lose money, in at least on paper, in the first 5 or 6 years. You're entitled to claim losses as long as you're attempting to earn an income. So I want to make that very clear. But we look at all your missed deductions, then we look at properly structuring you. So one of the things that most people do not have properly is their structure. So when you start making $1,000 a month in gross income, you need to go ahead and get an LLC. You don't have to get it through us. You can go directly to your Secretary of State. You get an LLC. I don't care what name you put it in, what you name it, but you need one. And the reason why is something really amazing happens is that you can take your LLC, which just limits your liability. It has no tax effect in the beginning, but it allows you to treat your business either as a sole proprietorship on your taxes, or you can treat it as an S corporation on your taxes. And what that means is that you can bypass 80% of your self-employment taxes if you have an S corporation. So I tell people, once you get to a point where you're doing $1,000 a month in gross income, you need to get an LLC. What that does is that starts the clock ticking. If you have an LLC today and you start making a ton of money at the end of the year and need to be treated as an S corporation for tax purposes, we can then go backwards and do the S corp election effective the day of the LLC. If you don't have it, then we have to wait until you do have it. So, and for those of you that, if that doesn't make sense, I've got some videos that I could definitely share with you, and we explain that, thoroughly if you need help understanding. But I'll just give you an example, I think would be the easiest way. If you netted $50,000 a year in net income, so for your business, so after all of your expenses, you made your money, you have expenses, and then you have what's left over, which is your net income, and that's what you pay taxes on, as opposed to W-2 employees pay taxes on what they bring in. You have the massive advantage of paying taxes on what you bring in after expenses. So let's just say that number is $50,000. Once you make that, if you're an LLC treated as an S corporation, you have to pay 15.3% in self-employment taxes on that 50 grand. So that's $7,500 that it's a little bit more than that, but let's just say it's around 7,500. So if I take that same LLC and I treat that LLC on a different tax return as an S corporation, I can now bypass 80% of those self-employment taxes. So, and how that looks is that you would have your $50,000 in your net income. You would then pay yourself a $10,000 paycheck, which is 20% of your net income. You would need to repay yourself as a paycheck. And that means you just have to pay taxes on the money. So payroll taxes or self-employment taxes. So that's about $1,500 as opposed to $7,500. So that's a big difference. And we do that all day long, every day. We have 6 and 7 figure income earners that have no clue that they're supposed to have an LLC treated as an S corporation. Blows my mind. Once you get to a point where you're making around $1,000 a month in net income after expenses, it's beneficial to be an S corporation because there's extra cost associated in that. So I want to always make sure that you're structured the way that you're supposed to be, and that it doesn't make me money unless it saves you a ton of money. So, and you can definitely do the LLC paperwork on your own. I don't know that the S corp paperwork you would be able to do on your own. So that's another way that we structure things and we help people understand. The third part is just going into more tax strategies. So as you continue to make more money, there are so many ways that you can get tax deductions, like conservation easements. You can, I don't know if you guys know this, but you can give, literally, you can give 20 grand to a conservation easement, which is land that's given to the government, and get a 4-time multiple on that. So you actually get an $80,000 tax deduction as charitable contributions. So there's lots of ways to understand that there are massive tax strategies out there that you probably have never heard about. And I'm not going into detail on all those today. I just want you guys to understand that by being in the home-based business space, you have the advantage of not necessarily spending more money. You're just actually taking the expenses that you have, which are, I consider, living expenses, and you're redirecting those into business expenses by attempting to earn an income. And the best way I can explain it to you is just to kind of have a conversation with you about deductions. So see Ed, I pick up the phone and I call Ed and I say, you know what, Ed, I need to speak to you. I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to fly to you. And so I get on my plane or I get in a car and I drive. It doesn't matter. 58 cents a mile, I could write off my car. If I got on a plane and I flew to him, I could write off the entire cost. So when I sit down with Ed and we have lunch and I say, Ed, and we've done that before. We've done that in Atlanta, and I drove down and he flew. And so, we sat down and had dinner. I tell Ed about what I'm going to do or what I'm doing, what my business is. And because I'm doing that, I'm attempting to earn an income per the IRS. See, attempting is just opening your mouth and telling people what you're doing. So I sit down with him, I share with him what I'm doing, I pour my heart and soul out to him, and he says, you know what, Courtney, I'm all about it. Like, I want to do this with you. I'm ready. Or he may say, you know what, I am not interested in what you're doing as far as making money, but I am interested in being a part of the buying the product or buying the service, or I love your mission. Or Ed could say, you know what, Courtney, I'm pretty sure that after even having this conversation with you, we are both going to hell in jail. And, I may look at Ed and say, Ed, I'm your friend, okay? One, I'm not going to jail for anybody or to make money. But here's what I want you to know. Because I sat down and shared with you what I'm doing, it's tax deductible for me. And I just thought I would share with you a way that I am not only saving $4,000 to $8,000 a year on my taxes this year, because I wasn't educated about the system, about the two tax systems, the one for the W-2 employee and the one for the business owner. But I'm also sharing a way of some products or some services that are amazing for me. And I wanted to share them with you, and maybe a way that you could potentially change your family's life. So if it's not for you, that's cool. But I want you to understand, Ed, when I get back in my car, one, I wrote off my 50% of my meal today. That was a tax deduction for me. So I paid less money than you did, even though you bought the same thing. And then I'm going to get back in my car. I'm going to get back on the plane and I'm going to fly back home and I'm going to write off all of that transportation as well. And when I get home, I'm going to write off a portion of my house for business use in my home. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I have an office in my home and I actually have events in my home. And so I can write that off. So 30% of everything that goes on in my house, like my repairs and maintenance, my utilities, my insurance, my property taxes, and then also depreciate my home, all of that is tax deductible, at least a percentage of it. And then I'm going to go get my swimming pool. That is a tax deduction. And let me tell you why. It's a fringe benefit because I hired employees, and my employees are my children and my spouse. They work on my property and I allow them to swim in my swimming pool. So now that's a fringe benefit. And I do have a nanny, and I have a couple other employees that work for me at my home, on top of us having an office here. But that's a fringe benefit. That's 100% tax deductible. It's straight tax code. And then what's going to happen is, guess what? I get to write off my cell phone because I called you on it. When yesterday it wasn't a tax deduction because I was a W-2 employee. I get to write off my internet because I needed it to run my business. I get to write off my laptop that I just bought. I get to write off my clicker. I get to write off my pretty little camera that's in front of me here, that my husband thought I needed, and all these lights around me to make me look pretty. But I get to write off all these things. And then guess what, Ed? I get to hire my kids and pay them to work for me. I'm going to pay them anyway. So if I hire my kids, I can pay them $12,000 a year. They don't have to pay taxes on the money. I don't have to pay taxes on the money because it's a business expense. I can hire them to do all the things that I would get someone else to do. And guess what? It saves me, it's a tax deduction of $72,000 a year because I have 6 children. So that saves me $28,000 in taxes. Okay. And then guess what else, Ed? Because I hired my kids, I can take them with me to continuing education events, and they get the personal growth and development right along with me. See, what I do is I will work a vacation around a continuing education event or an event that I'm speaking at. And I will work with them. I'll spend a couple days on the front end or a couple days on the back end with my family, or I'll just take one of my children and they'll go and help me work. And because they work for me, I'm not only getting the benefit of spending time with them, but I'm also, they're learning everything that I'm learning. And then it's tax deductible for us. So 75% of everything that we do is a tax deduction for us. And then guess what, Ed? Guess what? It gets better. So I get to spend time going on vacations, having fun with people that I love and care about that are like-minded. And it's all tax deductible as long as we're doing it for business purposes. See, you just don't know what I know. And at the end of the day, I'm not asking you to spend a lot of money. I'm not asking you to put a lot of money into this. What I'm telling you is that I literally took my living expenses, I redirected those into business expenses so that I could have a better life. And I just wanted that for you too. So if
Listen, first of all, like I can attest, Wells, her son, he's been to a bunch of Eric Worre events, Anthony Robbins events. Like he's getting, if any of us had that level of exposure to that type of environment when we were his age, what is he, 17 now? 16 or 17?
He'll be 15 tomorrow.
Yeah, he's very mature, very mature. I mean, it's incredible. Two things, because I know we're short on time. Two things. One, can you tell that story of the person, the couple,
yes,
and they get a second job and how that costs them more money versus getting a home-based business?
yes. So 85, a couple came in last year and they want to know, they'd gotten a pay increase of $35,000. They wanted to know how much it was they were going to have to pay extra in taxes. And so the husband made 85, the wife made 55. To combine, that was 140. Their $35,000 a year pay increase only generated an additional $13,000 in take home. So it was costing them $22,000 a year to make $35,000 more dollars. And so they were going in a higher tax bracket. So I said, what if one of you stayed at home? If we did away with the 55,000, the 85 stayed at home, they didn't have kids, so they had no advantage of any deductions like credit, earned income credit, child tax credit. So the 85,000, we took that, we determined that out of the $55,000 a year paycheck, she was only generating an additional $1,800 a month, which was $21,000 a year because of the taxes, and they were going in a higher tax bracket. So I told her, I said, you would be better off to make $1,000 a month in a home-based business. On paper, you would at least have $20,000 or $25,000 worth of deductions. And I mean, just the things that I talked to you about, that's at least 25 grand right there that you could write off in deductions. And now you're offsetting your husband's income with your paper losses, but you're making money. You would be better off making $1,000 a month as a network marketer or a home-based business or whatever you want to do. And that blew my mind. And it really got them as well, because most people don't get started because they don't think it's enough money to get started. But and ideally, if you home-based business is where it's at, because not only are you not paying money in taxes on all of the money that she just made or he just made, but it's also allowing you massive tax deductions. So there's no taxes on this money because you have expenses on paper, and then you're going against the income that the other person has, or the spouse has, and that's actually helping bring home more money there. So most people don't get started because they say, well, I can't replace my $50,000 a year paycheck. Well, we just did with $12,000 a year. It's crazy.
Good. Now, and then finally, can you explain how Jeff Bezos, who has a net worth of $117 billion, and I don't know if this is, I've heard this, I can't confirm it. I'm sure you all have heard it too. Amazon paid zero in taxes.
Yes.
What, this is the point of this conversation. We're all business owners. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I can just be real with you. In 19 years, I've never had to pay taxes. So I may pay taxes this year, a couple $1,000, and we made 350 grand. That's what we made last year. This year, we're already on pace. We've made $1 million in the last 6 months. Um, the whole thing is that it's strategy. So if you understand that Amazon, Walmart, Target, you have the same advantages, you have the same deductions that they are entitled to. You just don't know about them. So what ends up happening, like Amazon did pay $0 on $11.2 billion. What they did is they bought a ton of vehicles, and those vehicles are massive deductions. So last year I bought a car. That car was a 6,000 pound Suburban. So a Suburban, if it's over 6,000 gross vehicle weight, you can write off 100% in the year that you buy it, up to your net income. So that was a $65,000 deduction that day. So you've got to understand that it's just tax code, guys. Everything I'm talking about came straight from Sandy Botkin. I just recently, just this week, we're in talks of me replacing Sandy Botkin. Super excited about that. But if you just understand that there are so many ways of you saving money through tax deductions, you just don't know about them. And as a W-2 employee, W-2 employees make money, they pay taxes, and they have nothing to say, okay, I want to write this off, or I want to write this off. They still have to just pay taxes. Business owners, you can literally make your money. You can work through strategy. You can spend money on your business or attempting to earn an income. And then what's left over is what you pay taxes on. And most smart business owners, their goal is to make the bottom line zero. So it's not to make it 10,000. It's not to make it 1 million. It's to make the bottom line number zero and still have money, because it's zero on paper. It's not, when you understand, like, I'm still buying the things that I want to buy. I'm still doing the things that I want to do. I've just figured out a way to twist them and conglomerate them into a business expense.
It's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, uh, Courtney, for me, she brings humanity into a very complex world. She's given me personally just peace of mind. There's still stuff, and I'm like, I know I'm asking you a really, probably to you, a dumb question or obvious question, but like, she understands her clients come from. Like, she never made me feel like an idiot for asking these ridiculous questions, but I've never had that in all of the tax people that I've worked with over the years, and I just really appreciate her come from, how she shows up every day. If you go to her Facebook page, you'll see this. But again, I'm recommending, at a minimum, grab this book. Make sure you have it in your lexicon. And Courtney, if you would, just let them know how they can, if they have questions, if they want to watch some of your videos or some of your content, where can they find you and get in touch with you?
If you will go to my Facebook page, I'm actually at 10 o'clock today. I'm going to be talking about the new CARES Act and the Stimulus Act. And it's on my personal Facebook page, Courtney Epps. And then also More Relaxing, Less Taxing. It's a it's not a paid group. It's not a private group. It's an open public group that you can join. I put a lot of content in there. I do have a website I can send you to, but right now, if you'll just go to my personal page, there is a download for a free book. So I'm going to be giving those away for, I guess until at least May 15th to try to help people. I want to get this content out as much as humanly possible and help. And then there's also on that same link, you can book a $99 tax strategy session. We typically charge $149, but we've gone down to $99 right now so that we can help more people. And I can put that link here, and I may have the download I can put as well.
Good. You're gonna type it in the chat. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, ladies and gents, I'm glad that you all were able to share a little bit of time with my hidden gem. And I appreciate you, Courtney, so much for jumping on here and sharing what you've shared. We are just, listen, it's about your thinking. It's how you think. It's the strategies. It's people are going to expand exponentially over the next several weeks as we are working through the difficulties of this pandemic. By the way, CDC has now recommended to wear some sort of covering if you are going to go to the grocery store. So please take that into consideration. Continue to be vigilant and how you all are protecting yourselves and your families. But on the business side of things, all of us have the opportunity to continue to thrive and grow and impact. So again, Courtney, thanks so much. Love you and respect you tremendously, and we will see you soon.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good day.